Hey, so this about marks the 1 year mark for me in flying FPV drones, and wanted to make a video about how the past year went, specifically around racing with MultiGP organization and what went well and what didn't. So I guess kind of where I started out about 11 months ago, 12 months ago, September, October time frame, I actually picked up the DJI FPV quad. So this guy, the Flying Potato, super excited, got it for my birthday, went out, flew it, went up about 300 feet, started doing circles in the air, was loving it, having a time of my life, and then about 15 minutes later I got super bored and honestly haven't flown it since. So it was super cool intro to start learning how to fly angle mode and whatnot, and I had gotten a few hours in the DRL sim, but angle mode just wasn't doing it for me, and once you're at 300 feet you're not really having any fun. So that's when I jumped over and followed JB's tutorial on the Xylo build. So this is my first DJI FPV build that I did, and from there I actually took it out, armed it in the backyard, sent it rocketing at the house, bounced off, hit me, cut me in the leg, gashed me pretty bad, and it was a whole thing and I was an idiot. So looking back on that experience, gave me a big respect for these face blenders. So with that, I kind of moved on to wanting to fly racing. So I saw a lot of the DRL content. I'd seen the show in the past, and so I looked into what's around me, like what's MultiGP. So I went to their website, found the Mighty Drones on Facebook, and went out, and honestly I couldn't have found a better place to race with better people. So a lot of people super supportive, and helped me find everything that I need. So being from Minnesota, the outdoor season and flying freestyle, and I hadn't waterproofed or anything at the time, so I went directly into flying whoops. So actually at the start of the whoop season, when I showed my first race, as you can see right here, I could barely make it through the gates. I was wobbling all over the place, just rocketing. Throttle control is really an issue for me. So then actually one of the other members there, Semper Fi, he pulled me to the side and popped a throttle cap of 80-90% on my quad, and then I was able to actually start finishing laps. So actually that night after the whoop race, I had so much fun, so much excited and build up adrenaline from that race. I went home and immediately started a shopping cart to build out a Switchback Pro, because actually just at that point, Joshua Bardwell put out a interview with Heads Up, interviewing about the Switchback and the best build at the time. So I went through and copied that build and built up my first Switchback Pro, and then you can see me flying it right here. And as I'm actually hitting some of those gates in the first shot, you can see me hitting snow. For the first couple months I was flying a lot of snow, had to really line up gates before I went through them. I wasn't pre-turning anything. Throttle control is a big issue for me. So 6S was definitely a big jump up in terms of punch, so I was working to control these guys quite a bit. And you can see in this clip, from the previous one, I was actually able to be a lot smoother, and at this point I'd actually probably put about 30 hours into Velocidrone by this point. So actually that's another topic. I switched from DRL Sim to Velocidrone. There's an obvious reason why everyone does it. So if you're new, download Velocidrone right now. That's 90% of why I am where I'm at this point in time. So after doing a lot of prep in March and April, just getting outside and flying a little bit, hitting those Gemfan gates, actually May 14th was the season opener for the Mighty Drones. And that was my first real race where brackets were in place. So there were about 20-ish people showed up, and then everyone got set up, and this was my first event I was showing up to. Super excited, did all my research on channel prep and everything, and put in qualifying, was able to finish laps. It was a bit more challenging course for a new person, I felt like. So when finally brackets came around, I was so excited, hands shaking, armed my quad, flipped off the start gate. I put my prop on upside down. So that was my first race, so at least I got that mistake out of the way and don't have to make it again. But a lot of going through this gate, you can see me doing a lot of lining up gates and then punching through. That's one thing I felt like I developed a lot after throughout the season, was pre-turning gates and able to go in not looking at things. So being able to anticipate the next gate and lining yourself up coming out of a turn is something that I definitely got better at and more comfortable at higher speeds. Coming out of the first few Mighty Drones races, everyone was talking about International Open IO, and I was getting pretty into it at the time. I bought enough piece parts to build up 5 switchbacks, so I was diving head in, not holding back at all, getting all my gear set up, and so I pulled the trigger and decided I was going to go to International Open. And boy, was that the best decision I ever made. It's like drone racing summer camp for adults and, well, everyone. It was one of the most fun things I'd ever done. So raced all the courses, put in times and everything. Raced in the intermediate brackets. I think I finished between like 15th and 11th, but that was first time I had been in meaningful brackets, I guess you could call it, and I could not have had a better time. So I was just an incredible time. One thing you will notice looking at some of this footage is it's real crunchy and kind of nasty analog footage. So when I was doing this, I was actually flying with a set of Sky Zones. So some of my earlier footage was a rapid fire with it hooked into DJI goggles, and I got a dedicated pair of Sky Zones. And if you compare it to some of the future footage you'll see in a little bit, the rapid fire module is the real deal. It got a lot better. So kind of sum it up, IO is an incredible experience and I can't recommend it enough. If you're into FPV drone racing, it is the premier event that you definitely have to go to. It was just an incredible time. So actually we did do one GQ in the Mighty Drones prior to IO and one after. And so on the left, you can see my run before and then my GQ try after. And I actually shaved, I went from like 51 seconds down to 44 seconds. And two of the main changes I made were I went from, I had a month's flying experience at IO and other places, and I got tons of probably 30, 35 packs a day in at IO. And then, so the two main changes I made in my equipment was I switched all my cams from using the PAL to NTSC, and that really helped. It brings your vertical crop in a little bit, as you can see on the right, but you get higher frame rate. And the other change I made to the quads, it went from 45 to 50 degrees. Going from 45 to 50 degrees, I felt I got a lot more throttle control in terms of staying close to the ground, whereas before I'd kind of be up above the gate and kind of swoop in. Whereas at 50 degrees, I was able to maintain a lot more speed just going straight through. After the second GQ time, I went down to Wisconsin with two other Minnesota guys and went to this race called Katana, hosted by the Bladed Fury MultiGP chapter. And let me tell you, those guys have an insane venue. They have the best venue I've seen compared to anything I've been to yet. So they have an incredible setup, and super appreciate them hosting that race. And it was an insane time. So during this run, I was actually able to just fly consistently through the event after I finally got the course down, because what it is, it's one track that's 60 elements and you do one lap. So after I was finally able to memorize all those elements, which took most of my qualifying times to get the track down, and then I was able to actually take first place in their sport class bracket. So I had a ton of fun at that race, and I super appreciate them hosting it for us. After the Katana race, we had a number more of Mighty Drones point races with the club and various fun flies, and I was out most every other weekend getting some packs in, and I was also flying at least a half an hour a day in Velocidrone. And then I did pull the trigger and ended up going to Champs, and flew one of the coolest tracks I had flown to date because they lined the entire thing with LEDs, which made it incredible. So during the day we qualified in sunlight, but at nighttime they turned the LEDs on, and I was very worried that my cam was getting blown out, but the MultiGP crew did an insane job, and that event just went without a hitch. So some of my gear changes coming out of the season, the Katana race going into champs, was I actually converted 3 of my quads from, I was running a lot of hobbyist 3D prints, so my quads were weighing pretty heavy, probably like 330, 340 grams a piece. So I went in and built 3 light switches, transferred some stuff over, and actually switched it over to pancake ELRS builds. So if you can see that stack in there, super tiny stack, and I shaved about 50 grams off by going to this build, and let me tell you, it made a world of difference in terms of turning and maneuverability. The final tweak I made before champs was actually I changed my throttle cap down. I was flying at 100 most of the season. I brought my throttle cap down to 85%, and actually consistently in velocity and everything else, I was dropping my times by like 5 seconds on every course I had raced before that. So the 85% throttle cap made a huge difference for me. I think racing makes anyone a better pilot. So whether people are just trying to freestyle, trying to go around their backyard, if you want to improve your skills as a pilot, whether you want to do it for freestyle or racing in general, I think racing is the best way to get better fast. It forces you to make turns and know where you're going, and it's the most fun thing I've ever done. So I highly recommend getting out and checking out your local MultiGP chapter.